Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone you care about suddenly ignores you? It could be a friend, a loved one, or even a colleague. It hurts, doesn't it? Being ignored can make us feel invisible, unworthy, or even question our own value. But today I want to remind you that being ignored does not define your worth, it defines the person who chooses to ignore you. So, what should you do when someone ignores you? Instead of drowning in self-doubt, let's turn this situation into an opportunity for growth, self-respect, and empowerment. When someone ignores you, the first instinct might be to chase after them, seeking explanations, validation, or closure. It's natural to want to understand why someone has suddenly withdrawn their attention or presence from your life. However, constantly pursuing someone who has chosen to ignore you can often do more harm than good. It sends a message that your self-worth is dependent on their acknowledgement, and that's not a healthy position to be in. Instead of chasing, take a step back and remind yourself of your value. Your time, energy, and emotions are precious, and they should not be wasted on someone who does not reciprocate your efforts. When you chase after someone who is ignoring you, you are essentially giving them the power to dictate how you feel about yourself. You allow their actions or lack thereof to control your happiness. But the truth is, no one should have that much control over your emotions. Ask yourself, would you want someone to only give you attention because you beg for it? Or would you rather be appreciated by people who genuinely want to be in your life? The reality is, relationships, whether friendships, romantic partnerships, or professional connections, should be built on mutual respect and interest. If someone is ignoring you, it may be a sign that they do not value the connection the same way you do. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. Holding on to your self-respect means resisting the urge to beg for attention. Instead, allow space for the other person to either come back on their own or fade away completely. If they truly care, they will notice your absence and make an effort to reconnect. If they don't, their silence is your answer. Either way, by not chasing, you maintain your dignity and show that you respect yourself enough to walk away from one-sided situations. Additionally, when you stop chasing, you shift the focus back to yourself. You reclaim your power. Instead of spending your energy worrying about why someone is ignoring you, you can redirect that energy into things that bring you happiness and fulfillment. Use that time to focus on personal growth. Engage in hobbies that you enjoy. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. And build a life that does not revolve around someone else's validation. Ignoring someone in return or playing mind games will not bring you peace. The best response is simply to live your life with confidence and self-respect. A person who truly values you will never put you in a position where you have to question your worth. The right people will always choose you without hesitation. When someone starts ignoring you, it's easy to jump to conclusions. You might assume they are upset with you, that you did something wrong, or that they simply don't care anymore. However, assumptions can be dangerous because they often lead to unnecessary stress, overthinking, and misunderstandings. The reality is, people have their own struggles, distractions, and reasons for their behavior that may have nothing to do with you. That's why, before letting negative thoughts take over, it's important to approach the situation with an open mind and a willingness to communicate. Instead of overanalyzing every interaction, take a direct yet calm approach. If this person is important to you and their silence is affecting you, there's nothing wrong with reaching out. A simple, non-confrontational message can make a difference. You can ask something like, "Hey, I've noticed you've been distant lately. Is everything okay?" This gives them the opportunity to share what's on their mind if they choose to. Sometimes people withdraw because they are dealing with personal issues, stress, or emotional struggles they don't know how to express. They may not even realize they are ignoring you, as they are too caught up in their own battles. However, it's important to pay attention to how they respond. If they acknowledge your message and explain their situation, it shows they care about the relationship but are going through something difficult. In that case, patience and understanding can strengthen your bond. But if they continue to ignore you despite your effort to communicate, that's also an answer in itself. It tells you that they are either unwilling or uninterested in maintaining the connection. And at that point, it's best to accept it rather than force something that isn't mutual. Communication should always be a two-way street. If you are always the one reaching out, checking in, and trying to keep the relationship alive, while the other person remains distant or indifferent, that's a sign of an imbalanced connection. Healthy relationships, whether friendships, romantic partnerships, or professional interactions, should not feel like a constant chase. You deserve to be heard and acknowledged just as much as you acknowledge others. That being said, it's also important to recognize when someone is using silence as a form of manipulation. Some people intentionally ignore others to make them feel insecure or to gain control over a situation. If you suspect that someone is deliberately ignoring you to provoke a reaction, do not give them that power. Instead, take note of their behavior and decide whether this is the kind of relationship you want to invest in. No one deserves to feel insignificant or unworthy just because another person refuses to communicate openly. At the end of the day, misunderstandings can often be cleared up through simple and honest communication. But if someone continuously chooses to ignore you despite your efforts to reach out, it may be time to let go and focus on the people who genuinely value and respect you. When someone ignores you, it's easy to become consumed by thoughts of them wondering what went wrong, replaying past interactions, or hoping they will notice your absence. This kind of thinking can be exhausting and emotionally draining. The more you dwell on their silence, the more power you give them over your emotions. Instead of allowing their absence to control your thoughts, the best thing you can do is shift the focus back onto yourself. It's important to remember that your happiness should not be dependent on one person's attention or approval. People come and go, but your relationship with yourself is constant. When someone withdraws from your life, take it as an opportunity to reconnect with yourself rather than obsessing over their absence. Instead of asking, "Why are they ignoring me?" ask yourself, "What can I do to make myself feel fulfilled and happy?" This shift in mindset will help you regain control of your emotions and prevent their actions from affecting your well-being. One of the most powerful ways to move forward is by immersing yourself in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Focus on hobbies, career goals, self-improvement, or anything that excites you. When you engage in things that make you feel good, you naturally stop worrying about people who choose to ignore you. You begin to realize that your world does not revolve around them, and their absence does not leave an irreplaceable void in your life. Spending time with people who uplift and appreciate you is another way to shift your focus. Surrounding yourself with genuine friends, supportive family members, and people who make you feel valued will remind you that you don't need validation from someone who is ignoring you. Real connections are built on mutual effort and respect, not on one-sided attempts to gain attention from someone who isn't willing to reciprocate. Focusing on yourself also means prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being. If being ignored is affecting your confidence, self-esteem, or overall mood, take steps to nurture your inner peace. Practice self-care, whether that means exercising, reading, meditating, or simply taking time to relax and clear your mind. Journaling your thoughts can also be helpful in processing emotions and understanding what you truly want from your relationships. Another important aspect of focusing on yourself is growth. Instead of feeling rejected or unwanted, use this as a chance to improve and evolve. Set new personal or professional goals, learn something new, or challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone. Progress in any area of your life will naturally boost your confidence and remind you of your own value, making you less affected by the absence of someone who has chosen to ignore you. Ultimately, when you make yourself the priority, you take back the control that you might have unknowingly given to someone else. You realize that your happiness, growth, and success are not dependent on whether or not someone acknowledges you. The more you invest in yourself, the less you will seek validation from those who fail to recognize your worth. When someone ignores you, it can be tempting to take it personally. You might start questioning yourself, wondering if you did something wrong, if you're not interesting enough, or if you simply don't matter to them. This kind of thinking can be dangerous because it places your self-worth in someone else's hands. The truth is, how someone treats you is a reflection of them, not you. That's why it's so important to set boundaries and protect your emotional well-being instead of letting someone else's behavior dictate your self-esteem. Setting boundaries means understanding that you do not have to tolerate being treated poorly or neglected. You have every right to expect basic respect in any relationship, whether it's a friendship, a romantic connection, or a professional interaction. If someone is deliberately ignoring you or making you feel insignificant, it's a sign that you need to step back and protect your energy. No one should have the power to make you feel unworthy. One of the first steps in setting boundaries is recognizing your value. When you know your worth, you don't allow yourself to beg for attention, chase after people who don't appreciate you, or settle for less than you deserve. Instead of wondering why someone is ignoring you, remind yourself that you deserve people who choose you without hesitation. Your time and emotional energy should be spent on those who uplift and respect you, not those who make you question your importance. Another important part of setting boundaries is not overextending yourself for people who wouldn't do the same for you. It's natural to want to fix things, to reach out, to ask what's wrong, and to try to mend the relationship. But if you find yourself constantly being the one who has to initiate conversations, check in, or fight to keep the connection alive while the other person remains indifferent, it's time to recognize the imbalance. A healthy relationship, whether platonic or romantic, should never feel like a one-sided effort. Emotional boundaries also mean not allowing yourself to internalize rejection. Just because someone ignores you does not mean you are unworthy of love, attention, or care. People ignore others for many reasons, and oftentimes it has nothing to do with you. They may be dealing with personal struggles, they may not know how to communicate effectively, or they may simply not be the right person to have in your life. Instead of taking their silence as a sign of your inadequacy, take it as information about who they are and how they handle relationships. Practicing self-respect means walking away from situations where you are not valued. If someone continuously ignores you despite your efforts to communicate and build a connection, the best response is to stop trying. When you stop entertaining those who treat you poorly, you make room for people who truly appreciate you. By refusing to let someone's silence control your emotions, you reclaim your personal power and reinforce the belief that your worth is not dependent on another person's attention. When someone ignores you, the natural reaction might be to mirror their behavior, ignoring them in return to teach them a lesson or acting out in frustration. Some people might even resort to sending passive-aggressive messages, making sarcastic comments, or expressing their anger in an attempt to provoke a response. However, these reactions rarely lead to anything positive. In fact, they often escalate the situation, making you feel worse and giving the other person even more control over your emotions. Instead of responding with silence or anger, a more mature and self-respecting approach is to handle the situation with dignity and grace. One of the most common mistakes people make when they are ignored is retaliating by playing the same game. The idea of giving them a taste of their own medicine might seem appealing, but in reality, it does nothing to resolve the situation. Ignoring someone back does not clarify misunderstandings or mend the relationship, it only creates further distance and resentment. If the person was ignoring you because of personal issues, your silence might be interpreted as a lack of care. If they were ignoring you to manipulate or test your patience, responding with silence only fuels their power over you. Either way, you do not gain anything by mirroring their behavior. Similarly, reacting with anger or emotional outbursts can push the person even further away. If you respond with hurtful words, accusations, or desperation, you might later regret acting in the heat of the moment. Words spoken in anger cannot be taken back, and emotional outbursts can make you appear overly dependent on their attention. Instead of making them realize their mistake, you might reinforce their decision to distance themselves from you. A strong, confident person does not beg for attention or react impulsively. They acknowledge the situation, process their emotions, and respond in a way that maintains their self-respect. A more effective approach is to express yourself calmly and honestly. If the person's silence is affecting you and the relationship is important, you can choose to communicate your feelings without accusations. A simple message like, "I've noticed some distance between us and I just wanted to check in. If something is wrong, I'd rather talk about it." This shows that you are open to communication without forcing a response. If they care, they will take the opportunity to explain. If they continue to ignore you, then you have your answer. It's time to move forward without them. Handling the situation with grace also means knowing when to step back. If you have already reached out and they still choose to ignore you, respect their decision instead of chasing them for an answer. Your self-worth does not depend on their response. By refusing to react impulsively, you show emotional maturity and confidence. You send the message that while you care, you will not beg for attention or allow someone's silence to disrupt your peace. At the end of the day, the best way to respond to being ignored is to maintain your dignity. Don't play games, don't lash out, and don't let your emotions be dictated by someone else's actions. Instead, focus on yourself, practice self-respect, and let go of those who do not appreciate your presence. When someone ignores you, it's easy to feel isolated, unimportant, or even question your own value. You might spend hours overanalyzing what went wrong, replaying past conversations, and hoping for their attention. But dwelling on someone who chooses to ignore you only drains your emotional energy and keeps you stuck in a place of uncertainty and self-doubt. Instead of chasing after people who are indifferent to your presence, the best thing you can do is redirect your attention toward those who genuinely value and appreciate you. Life is too short to waste time on people who make you feel invisible. There are countless individuals out there who would love to engage in meaningful conversations, share moments of laughter, and build genuine connections. But when you fixate on someone who ignores you, you might unknowingly push away those who actually care about you. Instead of focusing on the people who withhold their attention, shift your energy to those who willingly offer their time, respect, and affection. Surrounding yourself with people who value you is one of the most powerful ways to protect your self-esteem and emotional well-being. Think about the friends, family members, and colleagues who consistently show up for you, those who listen when you need to talk, celebrate your successes, and support you through difficult times. These are the relationships that truly matter. When you invest your time and energy in people who reciprocate your efforts, you reinforce the belief that you are worthy of love and respect. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they are ignored is trying too hard to win back the attention of the person who is neglecting them. They may repeatedly reach out, change their behavior to please the other person, or even lower their own standards just to be acknowledged. But doing so only reinforces an unhealthy dynamic where one person has all the control, while the other is left feeling desperate for validation. Instead of trying to force someone to recognize your worth, walk away with confidence and seek out relationships where your presence is truly valued. Another important step is to build a strong support system. Spend time with people who uplift you, encourage your dreams, and make you feel seen. Engage in social activities where you can meet like-minded individuals who appreciate you for who you are. The more you surround yourself with positive and supportive people, the less affected you will be by those who choose to ignore you. When you are surrounded by love and encouragement, the absence of one person's attention becomes insignificant in the grand scheme of your life. It's also essential to recognize that not everyone you lose is a loss. Sometimes people leave your life for a reason, and their departure creates space for better, more fulfilling connections. Instead of mourning the attention of someone who does not appreciate you, be grateful for the opportunity to invest in people who do. Letting go of those who ignore you allows you to focus on relationships that bring happiness, growth, and positivity into your life. At the end of the day, you have a choice. You can dwell on those who ignore you, or you can embrace the love and support of those who truly value you. Choose to surround yourself with people who uplift you, rather than those who make you feel unwanted. When you prioritize relationships that are based on mutual respect and appreciation, you naturally distance yourself from those who take you for granted. The right people will never make you feel ignored. They will cherish and acknowledge your presence without hesitation. When someone ignores you, it can be a painful and frustrating experience. It's natural to want closure, an explanation, or even just a simple acknowledgement of your feelings. However, waiting for someone to recognize your worth or seeking their validation can leave you stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and emotional distress. Instead of depending on someone else to affirm your value, the most empowering thing you can do is find happiness within yourself and move forward with confidence. True happiness does not come from the approval or attention of others, it comes from within. When you rely on external validation, you place your self-worth in the hands of others, making yourself vulnerable to their moods, actions, and decisions. But when you cultivate inner happiness, you become emotionally independent, meaning that no one's silence or rejection can shake your confidence. This shift in mindset allows you to regain control over your emotions and find fulfillment in life without needing constant reassurance from others. One of the best ways to find happiness within yourself is by focusing on your passions, goals, and personal growth. Instead of spending your energy wondering why someone is ignoring you, channel that energy into activities that bring you joy. Whether it's pursuing a hobby, setting career goals, traveling, learning a new skill, or simply taking time to relax and enjoy life, engaging in activities that fulfill you will naturally boost your self-esteem. The more you invest in your own happiness, the less power someone else's actions will have over you. Self-care also plays a crucial role in building inner happiness. Taking care of your physical, emotional, and mental well-being helps you feel more confident and secure in yourself. This could mean exercising regularly, eating healthy, practicing mindfulness, journaling, meditating, or simply taking breaks when needed. When you prioritize yourself, you send a message to both yourself and others that you are worthy of love, care, and respect. You no longer feel the need to chase after those who ignore you because you are already fulfilled on your own. Another important aspect of moving forward is embracing the idea that rejection is often a redirection. Sometimes, when someone ignores you, it's not a loss, it's a sign that they were never meant to be a permanent part of your life. Their absence may be making room for someone better, someone who will appreciate, respect, and reciprocate your energy. Instead of mourning the loss of someone who chooses to ignore you, shift your perspective and see it as an opportunity to align yourself with people who truly value your presence. Letting go of resentment is also essential. Holding on to anger, frustration, or the need for closure will only keep you emotionally tied to the person who ignored you. Instead of allowing their actions to occupy space in your mind, choose to release any negative feelings and move forward with peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing their behavior. It means freeing yourself from the burden of their silence. When you let go of resentment, you take back your power and create space for happiness, joy, and positive relationships. Ultimately, finding happiness within yourself is the key to emotional freedom. When you stop seeking validation from those who ignore you and start valuing yourself, you no longer feel the need to chase anyone's attention. You become content with your own company, confident in your worth, and open to the right people entering your life. Instead of dwelling on those who choose to ignore you, focus on creating a life so fulfilling that their absence no longer affects you. The moment you realize that you are enough, exactly as you are, is the moment you truly set yourself free.